we're really delighted to have Michael Harvey here with us, and he is going to talk about data science and what it means to me. Michael is a senior manager in IT and data common services at Hawaiian Airlines. He manages developers and analysts from Honolulu to Phoenix and has been with Hawaiian Airlines for 5 years. He's been in the airline and travel domain space for over 20 years, working for Sabre, American Airlines, US Air, Datalex, GetThere, and Travelocity. Originally from Waco, Texas, he earned a college football scholarship to New Mexico State University. That's awesome. Where he studied business and computer systems, ran track and played rugby. And after a very short stint in the Canadian Football League, that's interesting too, he graduated from NMSU and began his career as a Y2K developer with Sabre and American Airlines. And after years with Sabre, he and his wife relocated to Hawaii to be close to family. He's started working at HMSA in 2014 as an IT solutions delivery manager and moved to Hawaiian Airlines in 2015. And we're sure happy to have you here with us today. So yes, Michael Harvey, please take it away. Glad to have you.
Thanks, Gwen. Thanks for having me, everyone. So what I'll do, I'll share my video in the beginning and then towards the end, certainly for questions. So if we can hold our questions to the end, we can have a very, I guess, informative and interactive Q&A session. So I'm going to turn off my video. I'm not afraid to show who I am. I'm actually have a little bit of COVID hair, so my hair is a lot longer than it used to be. My wife doesn't like it, but I sort of like it. It kind of takes me back to my high school days, but nonetheless, here we'll get going. So thanks again, Gwen. So let me go to the next slide. All right, and let me move this out of the way. Okie dokie. Here. All right. So again, thanks for the introduction. So what I'd like to talk about, of course, is data science and what it means to me. I think it's awesome to be here with you guys, and I can tell you from some of the LinkedIn requests that I received. Sorry, I became a bit intimidated, speaking to this audience. But I'm happy to provide, some of the insights that I've learned, and certainly, a different perspective of, what it means to me. So in my role at Hawaiian Airlines, I'm the application owner of a near real-time data-driven integration platform called Intelligence Exchange. So I have some detailed slides on what is Intelligence Exchange, or IX as what we call it. It's a pretty awesome system. Not many people get the opportunity to work on it, actually in the entire world, because it's a homegrown product built and managed by Sabre, which is the reservation system that Hawaiian Airlines sits on top of. So I tell my team that not many people in the world get an opportunity to work on this, so consider yourselves lucky. We use that platform to do some really innovative things, especially when it comes to data and identifying sources of data or actions that data may impact the airline or perhaps impact a passenger. So I'll share certainly more of that. So in my day-to-day role, I manage 9 direct reports, mostly developers. I have 2 analysts that own the team, and my team spreads from Honolulu to Phoenix. The shakeup is I have 2 people in Honolulu now, and I have 7 people in Phoenix. A couple of months ago, it was slightly different just because of, some reorganizations we've done, but a total of 9. So it's a fun team, a good team. They keep me on my toes, and it's good times. So why do I? Oh, well, first off, let me tell you again who I am. So Gwen touched on that. This honestly is one of my favorite pictures. Alex, he recognized this picture. I'm not sure, Alex, I don't think you took this picture, but this is a passion of mine, rugby. I coached a women's rugby team here in Honolulu, the Lady Harlequins. This was after us winning a championship. So it's just a little bit about me. But, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm an athlete, I'm a coach. which kind of keeps me energized in my personal life and things that I do. So why do I love data? Well, this isn't why do I love data science. This is more about data, right? So in this particular side, so for me, data is all about making informed decisions. IBM, if you search the IBM, and they do pretty well with their Watson and their IBM analytics platforms and tools, they're quoted with saying data is a natural resource, which I think is an awesome quote, because one of the fearless slides I'll talk about how data exists everywhere, right? Data is power. And in fact, if you've ever been a victim of identity theft, you'll know how much sensitive data is and can be to you. Data comes with trade-offs. It's this or that. Uh, for example, at Hawaiian Airlines, we often have trade-offs. Do we want to fill the plane, or do we want to make money? Right? So, sure, we can sell every seat for $500 from Honolulu to Maui, but we won't have a lot of buyers. So the data into making those decisions helps us decide, what the prices shall be. So revenue management, I would encourage, if you all are interested in opportunities at Hawaiian Airlines, revenue management, I think, is an awesome place to work in when it comes to data, and in particular data science. Um, the the revenue management side of the house, or Hawaiian Airlines, we actually have several data scientists that work in that group. And if you're interested in finding out how revenue management works, you should Google. It's an old article. It's called "If Airlines Sold Paint." Like wall paint, and the article is from 1998, but it's actually pretty funny of how seating and pricing is assigned to the the different buckets of seats for our planes. Data is why argue? I often say, even to my team, men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. So, Usain Bolt is not the fastest person in the world. In fact, I am, which everyone knows is false. If you were to Google search and look into the statistics, you'll actually see that Usain Bolt is the fastest person in the world. However, at 45, I still think I can take him from in a in a 20-meter race. Um, though, but data in itself, I think it'll be interesting to look in the future how machine learning and sciences like that will take the decisions away from humans, right? Because data is also decisions rather is about feelings. Sometimes a gut feeling is a good opportunity to make decisions on data, and sometimes it's a bad decision. So, although feelings aren't always the best way to make decisions, I think that data should be a part of decision making. For me, data is exciting, particularly with Hawaiian Airlines. It's super exciting to see just the available information that comes through the system, from booking to ticket to prices to customer interactions to modifications to seating, etc. That is pretty exciting. The opportunity to collect the data, analyze the data, to model the data, to uh, take the data and allow it to do awesome things for our airline. That's pretty exciting, at least for me. Um, we're delivering, we Hawaiian Airlines are delivering for our customers. Native mobile app, for example, check-in notifications, and other marketing tools or applications or um, services that we have built that are based on data. And lastly, for me, it pays the bills. So I've been 20 years in IT, continue with Hawaiian Airlines, and so it pays the bills for me, which is great. And I get to speak at conferences like this for a fee, right? Gwen, a fee? No? Okay. Um, next slide. So as I mentioned, data is everywhere, right? So when I look at this slide and I see all of the, the data in the right, the data in the left, I see, what makes sense to me, right? I see things that I can bring out and make tangible benefits for, you know, for decisions. So it's everywhere. It just has to be evaluated, and I think that's certainly getting to the science part of it. Data visualization is not data science. So oftentimes you may hear that, this chart, this is the science behind the data. I mean, charts and graphs are great, especially when they're colored, fancy, and they are, different, types of charts and graphs. They're great, but that certainly is not data science. So for example, if I was to go through these charts, I would show you maybe the one on the top right. For me, that is our web usage, example of our web usage. So our traffic, as people are making shopping and booking requests to our site. The one in the bottom right hand corner, that's a graph that's actually shows, and as I mentioned, I'm a coach and an athlete, so this type of data charts and data rather is interesting to me, because this shows the rate of speed, or meters per second, for Usain Bolt when he won the 100 meters at the excuse me, when he set the world record for the 100 meters. And he was actually traveling at 10.44 meters per second, which is incredible. So, this is something that excites me. The middle chart here is this is a heat map that we are working on at Hawaiian Airlines, sort of a prototype that we've been building, actually leveraging data from IX. And this shows that check-ins that are point of origin of check-ins that are coming to Honolulu. So a pretty awesome chart. And this last chart, this is basically the number of people that are falling asleep as I continue to go through my slides. Hopefully you guys are still there. All right. Next slide. So I thought, before having this conversation, I wanted to find really a good definition and see if it meant the same to me, and actually hopefully it means the same for you. So the Journal of Data Science, which I'm sure you guys all subscribe to, gives a pretty good and useful definition that I absolutely agree with here, but I've added a little bit of my own touch to it. Almost everything has something to do with data. That's the definition of data science. Almost everything that has something to do with data, collecting, analyzing, and modeling. But the most important parts, and this is kind of where I add my input, is domain knowledge is crucial when it comes to being a data scientist, right? I would even think that a good data analyst is much better than a good data scientist, certainly because understanding the data, how it works, where it came from, being able to make sense of the data before you attempt to model it, right? You may be looking at the wrong information to do the modeling, and it may skew the results. So, but I thought that this was an awesome definition of data science. I guess we can come back later and see if you all agree with me here. So at Hawaiian Airlines, we use a lot of apps. This is just a few that I can name. Certainly not necessarily off the top of my head, but that I'm certainly aware of, and have team members that use, or matrix teams that use these applications. So I'm sure you guys have heard some of these, and maybe some of these are new to you. But we use R programming. So R is a programming language, certainly in data science. Our revenue management team uses R extensively. They, as I mentioned, data sciences that build and create forecasting models to set the right price. So if you're ever wondering why neighbor island prices are what they are, blame our programming and blame the data sciences of revenue management. Python, another a data programming language, if you will. It is used, probably the most common language is used for data scientists. I mean, things like NumPy and Pandas, data cleansing, are all things that Python can do very easily. And it Python has a bit of learning curve, but I think once you get it, you can be very powerful in terms of delivering data for tangible reasons. Informatica, we deal with a lot of data. And when I mean a lot of data, I mean a lot of data, right? Imagine every booking and every ticketing transaction and every customer transaction flows through our system for collection and for event driven or actions, or even just from reporting. So we leverage Informatica along with other tools to store and report and action the data. Mulesoft. Uh, Mulesoft is a enterprise service bus. It's actually owned by Salesforce. This is more of an integration tool than I would say it's a data tool. It's not so much like a data repository or ODS or even a data lake, but it can work with data. It can integrate with APIs that can store, upload, create, set actions, events. So MuleSoft is a pretty powerful application or tool. Some people, I think, maybe call it short of would stop short of calling it a program language, because it's actually a low code language. It's more drag and drop. But if you have a Java based or at least an object oriented background, MuleSoft is certainly something I would suggest that you add to your wheelhouse. And then Snowflake. Well, let me talk about Power BI and Tableau. So Power BI and Tableau are the visualization tools that we use, and we use both of them. And it's really just a matter of preference based on the group within Hawaiian Airlines that prefers to use it. Some people prefer Power BI, others prefer Tableau. There's enough licenses to go around for both. So it's really who you're talking to or which group you're working with. And then Snowflake. I'm not sure if you guys all follow stock market, but Snowflake just recently was the largest IPO ever to launch. Billions and billions and billions of dollars were had with the launch of the Snowflake IPO. I, in fact, got up at 3 o'clock in the morning just to make sure that my order went through. And Snowflake IPO did not release until 7 a.m. Hawaii time. So I was up nearly 4 hours for nothing. But I got in, and I've already lost money on it. So don't take stock advice from me. So data science in action at Hawaiian Airlines and some of the use cases that we have for Python. So these screens, I captured a couple of screens because I wanted to maybe share maybe some variations of how we leverage the Python framework. We've done automation in terms of refund automation. So unfortunately, when COVID hit, we did not have a very dynamic and agile way to do refunds. An airline, unfortunately, and I'll say this, an airline, it does not behoove an airline to be good at offering refunds, right? So we did not have a very good and agile process of offering refunds. So we built something very quickly, very dynamically in Python. In fact, it took us about 2 to 3 days. That was a collection of requirements and coding it out and deploying it to a production system to allow us to do automated refunds. We also leverage Python for testing automation. So as you can imagine, the number of bookings that we get in a production environment of people making bookings, tickets, purchases, etc., we have to also exercise our code in the cert or certification and test environments. So we needed a way to create volume of different types of testing scenarios and use cases. So we leveraged Python to build these types of activities for us. So So just please, when we get to questions, please do not ask me where your refund is. Okay, I don't control who gets the refund. I control certainly when we run the process. All right, data science action in Mulesoft for Hawaiian Airlines. So Mulesoft, as I mentioned, is the ESB. It's kind of a drag and drop. There's an exchange, they call it a Mulesoft Exchange, that offers these plugins that can be implemented to do a bit of mapping of activities that you want to do. Right, so you can extract the data, you can massage the data, you can export the data, you can call an API, you can do different parts of by allowing and inserting MuleSoft into the flow from an integration, both from maybe not so much data intensive, but it can be, right? IX, as I'll talk about in a second, leverages MuleSoft by eventing the data to MuleSoft, and then Mule takes the information, data weaves out the data that it's interested into, and then we insert it into a SQL Server database for reporting purposes and near real-time reporting purposes for bookings. Okay. Data science, Hawaiian Airlines, and data warehousing. Now that I'm previously I was common services, just independently, I guess maybe so common service, but now I'm common service and common and data services. So I get an opportunity to work with our data warehouse teams. So we have this product, if you will, called Travel Data Batch. And as you're looking at this, it's very, very, I guess you have to squint to look at it. I guess I could zoom it in and share some of this information, but I'll share these slides out so you guys have an opportunity to have a look. But this has all kinds of data associated with the travel, excuse me, the passenger or the traveler's journey. There's booking information, there's ticketing information, there's origin, destination, there's preferences, there's seating, there's all kinds of information in here that we leverage to report on, right? And those reports go up to helping us make decisions, right? So, kind of maybe a bit of stretch in terms of maybe how everyone here may view data science, but this is certainly about us being able to collect the data, to analyze the data, to model the data, and present it in a tangible form. Sabre IX. Now this is exciting because I'm actually the application owner of IX, Intelligence Exchange, and as I mentioned earlier, that it's a Sabre hosted application, a Sabre hosted platform. Sabre, again, is the reservation system that Hawaiian Airlines sits on top of. And full disclosure, I used to work at Sabre. And before I moved to Hawaii, I was part of the evaluation team of IX when Sabre bought IX. So when I landed at Hawaiian Airlines, I was one of the first to say, we got to get IX. And it took about 2 years, but we were able to partner with Sabre, and they made me the application owner, which is awesome. So it's a honor responsibility. So I'll allow you guys to maybe brainstorm and maybe imagine with me. So imagine having the ability to respond and react in near real time, right? So an event happens, a booking happens, a change in your seat happens, and then IX is there to listen for that event and event or take action on that event. Imagine having I'd like to say, innovative reflexes, right? So we want to be smart about a event that happens in booking. Let's say, for example, we want to build a use case, and this is actually in our backlog, where if a traveler is checked in on their birthday, if they're traveling on their birthday and they happen to check in and the date that you're checking in on is their birthday, we want to offer some sort of value to them, maybe upgrade them, maybe escort them through the fast track lane for TSA, right? So we have those type of opportunities leveraging IX. I mean, it's an awesome platform, and what's even more awesome about it, when we received training, training was in Iceland. So I took the team to Iceland. We went to Reykjavik, and we spent 2.5 weeks in Reykjavik during the winter in January and February. So you can imagine how cold it was there, but it was an awesome experience. So if you guys ever have an opportunity to go to Reykjavik to Iceland, please jump at it. It's awesome. So when I look at these screens, certainly all of these make sense to me, right? I see availability from another GDS. I see booking and ticketing information. I see journey information. I see prices and different fare rules. I see booking information again. So this is the part I think that IX has the advantage over, I think, some other data science platforms, where it can respond and react to events that are happening in real time in our reservation system. So the way IX works is it has entry condition. So you qualify a value. So you basically you discover or you collect all of the acceptable evaluations of a use case that you want to take action on. So for example, this particular use case is called plus grade or plus grade data feed, where we look at eligible PNRs. PNRs are reservations or bookings, and we qualify them to be sent and integrated to our Mulesoft platform. So IX, from a standpoint of event-driven actions, it qualifies the booking, it extracts the data elements out of the booking, and it sends it up to Mulesoft for it to be processed to plus grade, so that our guests can participate in the first class auction process. IX is sort of Mules. I give it compare it to MuleSoft only from a visual workflow perspective, where top left corner is the entry condition, and then the bottom right, as it goes kind of from left to right, there are gates that qualify the booking to see if it's ticketed, meaning that the customer has actually paid for the booking. Does it have the right type of evaluations in the PNR, meaning that they're not traveling with a pet, they're not an unaccompanied minor, things like that. And then once it qualifies, then we event the information, the PNR data to MuleSoft. Here is a bit of just log information, how the correlation between what happens between IX and MuleSoft, and then here there's some data that would actually show how the information is sent via the API over to over to PlusGrade. Here's another workflow. This is more complicated. This is a workflow called unpaid ancillaries. That happens when we have travel agencies that allow their customers to reserve our extra comfort seats, which are our coach economy plus seats. And this workflow identifies the booking, if it's paid, if the seat is paid for. If it's not paid for, it waits an hour. It sends a notification to the travel agency to pay. It waits 24 hours. If after 24 hours, the amount isn't paid, then we actually cancel the seat. We don't cancel the booking. You still get on the plane, but you just can't sit in the seat that you reserved because you haven't paid for it. This is it looks very simply like a spreadsheet, but in fact it has tangible representation, because during COVID, early on, there were cancellations like you wouldn't believe. I mean, and rightfully so. Customers and passengers were canceling bookings at the very last minute. So it was causing spoilage in terms of our ordering of meals, particularly as we fly from um, Hawaii to North America. Yes, to North America. We would have these bookings. We would call our catering service, and the catering service would prepare all the meals, and then they would deliver them to the plane. And on a normal day, everyone would have an opportunity to have a meal, with a little bit of spoilage, for overage. But during COVID, goodness, we would order our meals and we would be missing 100 people. So these are our check-in stats. There's actually a little bit of intelligence that goes behind this, that we event this data out every hour, and it's based on check-in. Actually, this is this check-in stats. So these are people that have checked in for a flight that we know that are confirmed to be there for the flight. So this actually saved us pretty quickly during the COVID crisis for our airline early on. Okay, so wrapping up, I hope you guys have enjoyed this discussion. As far as I think maybe a definitive definition of what data science means to me, as I'm presenting these slides, I'm even more so looking at opportunities of where we can get better with the data, and I think that's an awesome skill for a data science just to be, right? To be interested, to be always discovering, to always be wondering, to always be optimizing, the data. Certainly you can over optimize, but, always be thinking about what the data means, how it, what decisions it can make. So, I think, for me, I think data science means delivering relevant and purposeful data through programming, applications, and tools with some domain knowledge, expertise, so that it provides tangible benefits for the receiver or the audience. So, and that could be the business stakeholders, that could be IT engineers, that could be data analysts, data scientists, or even for the CEO. So, I think the future is bright for those that are interested in data science, that are studying or continue to learn. I certainly envy the opportunities that you guys have, and I encourage you all to explore more. So on my further slide, I've shared some resources that you guys should check out. So again, I'll share these slides, and that way that you guys can take a look at them. All right. So some of these resources you all may know, you may have worked with, or you may be interested in working with. So doggone, I see one missing. There's a site called data.world. So if you're ever interested in working with all kinds of municipal type of data, city information, statistics, demographics, it's a great free website called data.world, and they usually update their information, daily. So I would suggest, working with that one. Then of course, dataschool.io. If you go to the resources tab, that's where you can actually see and get some additional trainings and useful tools on data science. Trailhead, Salesforce. I'm not sure if you guys have ever played with isn't analytics from a data science perspective, but it is super awesome, right? So it's actually free to play with, and you can actually increase your skills and your knowledge by exploring this. Amazon Web Services, Amazon has taken over the world. They're in everything, right? So they have a data exchange, which if you have $15,000, you can buy data, but it's useful data because they will actually sell you competitive data, right? So particularly if you're a small business or a medium-sized business, that may be something that would help you, um, you know, uh, exercise or input into your system or your processing to be more competitive. And then, of course, YouTube, goodness gracious, I don't know if YouTube was around when I was younger, who knows? But YouTube always offers some skilled um, courses and more opportunity to explore into the subjects of data sciences. And of course, thank you, U of H, for this presentation. So check them out if you haven't also already. Check them out, datascience.hawaii.edu, and follow them on Twitter. If you guys are tweeters, follow your resources on Twitter and help each other out. And lastly, check us out, hawaiianairlines.com. We are always looking for talented folks, either here or in Phoenix, even during the COVID crisis and all of the bad news that you may have seen on the news and such. We are still hiring. So check us out. And with that, thank you all.
Great, wonderful. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for a great presentation. We have time for questions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask folks to, I'm going to let folks unmute themselves. And if somebody wants to raise their hand, I can call on them. Someone has a question? Any questions? I'll get started with a question.
Okay.
So Michael, you talked a lot about some of the different tools that you use, Mulesoft and Snowflake and others. How do you evaluate the tools that you're going to use? How do you guys decide which ones to use?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. It really, determines fit for purpose, right? So we have a pretty intensive architecture process, right? Particularly for tools within IT. So our architecture team, in fact, I was leading an effort for RFP process for evaluating another such tool. So we often get in touch with tools, or we look at who's leveraging tools, other airlines, and we do the evaluation, and we see if it fits our needs. In fact, Snowflake, who we are just starting to get rolling with, was something we've been evaluating for a long time, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunities that it has there. The ability to, it's on AWS, so it offers the redundancy and the scalability and all those kind of things, right, that AWS brings to it. But it offers the opportunity to share data across the airline, right? So I think that's one of the things that we have a problem, and not so much us, but other airlines, that the data is in disparate systems. So there's revenue management data, there's customer data, there's booking data, there's check-in data, and it's all in these different systems, and there's not an easier opportunity to kind of connect those systems. So, but yeah, architecture is our process, how we do evaluations.
Okay, cool. Let's see, we have a question from Alex Stokes. His question, is it true that your browser is analyzed and the price of your flight changes based on this? Is that a trick question?
No, there is some caching, Alex, that goes on, right, about what you've seen and what you've looked, right? So it's not so much the price that changes. We are changing prices all the time to meet demand. The pricing and yield management part of the house and revenue management, like I said, is really a fantastic, and I think particularly for an entry-level data analyst, or excuse me, data scientist, that would be the most and coolest place to work. And if not Hawaiian Airlines, I think at any any airline to see it pricing, right? How the fares come in, what another airline does, how do we adjust, how do we ensure that we make the bare minimum of the money, how do we make the most money? So it's not so much that we're tracking your browser cookie to Alex already saw this price, we're going to lower the price now, and when he turns around, we're going to raise the price again, that kind of thing. No, it's not so much that.
Great. Okay, so we have a question from Paul Sporen. Amazon changes prices based on if you use it on a new iPhone or...
No, sorry, that was not a question. That was a response to Alex.
Oh, that was your response to Alex?
But I have a question actually. I'm curious about this over-optimization because I often feel confused about, like, I look at one day and then the prices are like this, and I maybe talk to my parents if I should fly over at that date, and then the next day it's like entirely different.
Yeah.
So is it maybe a bit of a bad development that that you analyze all this data and then these prices jump up and down and like it's super optimized, but at the same time people are just like confused and maybe even a bit like annoyed and rather take a train or something,
Yeah.
because it's like the longer the distance, the more expensive it is, and this is not like kind of randomly. It appears to be entirely randomly, just because the data science is just way too complex for like a regular customer like me to understand any of it.
Right.
So have you faced any over optimizations, and like would you then kind of pedal back and make it simpler, or?
Well, Paul, tell me how you really feel. No, I'm kidding. So, no, just like the prices change for you, they change for us as well. I mean, I think the revenue management team is the team that actually has the secret formula, right? So not so much throwing them under the bus. I mean, we're in the business of making money for the airline, right? So it has to be profitable. So we are playing with prices dynamically, right? We're matching fares from a standpoint of watching what other competitors are doing in the same market. We're looking at demand and seeing how demand drives the price. We're looking at load factors, right? So if the plane is full, it's going to cost a little bit more money for you to get a spot in the plane. If the plane is less full, it's going to be less, right? So, someone thinks that you can overguess what better guess what the airline is going to do. I mean, there are some typical things that you can do, right? Usually fare sales, I like to give an example. Fare sales are on Tuesday, right? So between Tuesday and Wednesday, people say buy airline tickets on Wednesday, right? Because a fare sale just happened. We had hoped to sell all this inventory, but unfortunately we did not. Okay, drop the price, right? So there's an option to do that. There's an option to take that offer right then and there. But if I tell you, if you go back to what I was saying earlier, how airlines, if airlines sold paint, it's a very sort of funny and anecdotal example of how seat pricing works. So to answer your question, perhaps there could be some over optimization, and I think from the airline side of the house, the over optimization comes from when we've sold too many at a cheap price, or we've sold not enough at a higher price. And I think that's where the tweaking needs to be, just to make sure that it's even keeled, so that we get the right set of high prices and low prices to fill the plane.
Thank you. I'll read this
Yeah, check it out. Yeah, check it out. 1998. It's it was one of the, I remember earlier in my career, I read that early on. I was like, wow, that's funny. So.
Okay, we're getting some more questions. So Troy Wooten is asking, you have a slide that states data visualization is not data science. And if I'm not mistaken, while data visualization is not representative of data science in its entirety, it certainly is a crucial aspect of data science, correct?
Absolutely. So let me clarify that, because I'm actually probably missing the word not. Data visualization alone is not data science, right? So giving someone this chart and saying, look at here, the data science, Well, that's not it. So it's you know, if you go back and when I show these slides, right, the Journal of Data Science, I think the definition that they put out is, I'd agree, spot on. And as I go back through my notes here, I can quote it off to the top of my head. Actually, I cannot quote it off the top of my head because I don't do it injustice. Let me go back to it. Sorry, looking for my notes, and it says that almost data science is almost everything that has something to do with data collecting, analyzing, and modeling. So as I mentioned, I like to ensure that presenting the data in a tangible, meaningful way and with purpose, right? So if you give someone the data and it looks fancy, looks great, and it doesn't mean anything, that's not data science, that's data mess, right? So you wasted my time and you wasted your time. So yeah, so to answer your question, I think, Greg, it is data visualization alone is not data science.
Okay, great, thank you. So next question is from Javi to everyone. Does Hawaiian Airlines have opportunities for internships in data science?
You know, we did, and man, I tell you, have you guys heard of this thing called COVID? Wow, it is just messing up everything. But we had we have, and it will return. We have a very, very good internship, right? It's paid internship. And in fact, we've hired several UH graduates. In fact, I hired one to my team, Matthew Schultz. I'm not sure if you guys know Matthew Schultz. He's super tall. Matthew is like 8 feet tall, right? But Matthew was a computer science major at UH, and maybe you guys maybe had some courses with him. But so we do have an internship program. It was put on pause just due to COVID because we didn't know how things were going to shake out. And you know, with internships, it's necessary to have that sort of face-to-face opportunities with you know, rather than you know, sort of remote and online. So we put this year's internship program on pause, and we hope to bring that back up in 2021. So I would suggest if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I'll be happy to ensure to post information as I get it, and you know, if we're connected, then you'll see it, and you know, be happy to apply.
Okay, great. Okay, next question is, oops, I lost that one. So this is about hiring employees. So when you hire on the basis of a resume, which applicant would be preferable? One who has a degree in data science, in a data science field, or one that is has self-educated themselves with courses from related websites?
That is a good question. You know, my son graduated from Baylor, and I was on him like, you're going to get your degree, you're going to get your degree, you're going to get your degree. And he's a financial analyst, and they, you know, work with data all the time, crunching numbers and things like that. So I certainly would say that a degree would give you more of a well-roundedness opportunities, right, in different courses. So I'm a proponent of folks going on and getting some sort of uh, post high school degree, if you will, or at least some sort of validation that you have a well-roundedness. I mean, I heard one of my past friends, she said, well, she's still a friend of mine, but in the past, she said, a degree only shows that you're teachable, and I think that is not true. You know, it really comes down to knowing what you're talking about, right? Because I've had MBAs coming to an interview and couldn't spell data, right? Talked about how they love data and they're passionate about data and how they experience. Okay, give me an example. Solve this problem. How would you solve this problem? And you know, you have to be able to articulate, you know, what you are, you know, getting yourself into. So, I think I prefer with the degree, and most of our job descriptions say degree required. But I've worked with people that graduated with a GED, and those are some of the smartest people ever. But yeah,
Yeah, so you're still hiring a person instead of a resume.
indeed, all the time, all the time, all the time. I mean, I like to do this. When I get to an interview, I take the resume and I put it down and I say, tell me about yourself. And if you can't tell me what is on your resume, then someone wrote your resume for you. So I don't want to, I can read the resume, right? I want to hear from from the person. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, here's a tricky one.
Okay.
This is from Alex McKee. So he says he joined a little late to the seminar, and you were talking about the Snow IPO and not asked you for stock tips. So with your background in data science, have you ever analyzed technical patterns within the stock market to take advantage of price changes? That's a great question.
That is a great question. I honestly have not, right? I think I have more luck in Vegas than I do on the stock market. So um, I think that'd be interesting to do. And I think some of those resources perhaps will offer that. So I think the Hawaiian Airlines, excuse me, Hawaiian Airlines, we sponsor the HCCC, the hack. Although there's 4 different really sectors that you can get into, I think that'd be an awesome thing to the trends and uh, changes over. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Look at changes and trends over and kind of what makes a stock, because there's a lot of things, right? There's news, right? I had a stock that shot up 41% overnight. And I'm like, why did it shoot up? It turns out that one of their employees leaked some information on Twitter. Like how would you integrate that? But that's I don't know, Alex. Let me know when you do, man. I'll invest.
Okay, let's see. Alex says, thank you. Let's take one more question. This is from Alex Stokes. In terms of hiring, what are the kind of basic skills or the base skills that you're looking for?
I think for me, I've been very fortunate and blessed at Hawaiian Airlines to hire a significant amount of people. I'm not from here, right? I'm from Waco, Texas, but Hawaiian has given me such a great opportunity to come in and lead and help develop, mentor, and deliver for our business. So for me, I look more for personality, right? Particularly, can you fit in with the business? Can you fit in with the issues? Do you understand our purpose? Why does Hawaiian Airlines exist? Not so much about, oh well, we exist to fly people. No, it's different. It's um it's really a story of why we are Hawaii's airline, right? It's about you know I think much different than working for, let's say, Amazon, or working for, a larger major, company, right? Um, so for me, I look at personality going into it, and certainly you have to have the knowledge, right? But I can teach, someone, or we can have mentors that can help teach folks, especially for associates. The associates, that's the entry level folks. But as a senior, or even as a lead, the expectation would be you would come in and have the skills to get along, right? But for all the associates and the entry levels, you know, the resume word is great. It's great. It looks fancy, and it's but for me, what stands out on resumes is, what do you like to do? What are your hobbies? You know, what what is the metadata about a person, right? I'm an engineer. Okay, what else? I like to code. Really? That's all you like to do? Like, you know, right? So those kind of things, I think extracurricular activities, and me playing football and rugby and track and field, I think um, has done so much for me and my confidence and skill set to be a professional in the airline industry. So
Hey, Mike,
hopefully that
sorry,
answers your question. Yes, sir.
I was talking more like, what are your basics? Python, R,
Oh, great question.
and
Great question. So it depends. It depends on which team, right? So, within IT, we're more of software development, right? So Java, .NET, um, you know, uh, Angular, C, some basic programming skills, right? Database, SQL is certainly a starter. On the business side, R and Python can be taught, but if you have those kind of basic foundations of programming languages, those are very helpful. But bringing in a person that says they're, let's say, Python certified, for example, doesn't necessarily guarantee the role, right? Again, it goes back to personality for me. But so if you're starting out, if you're looking for, I think, programming languages like in Python, programming languages in Java, programming languages in C, .NET, JavaScript, getting an understanding of how to write code, right? That solves, not just hello world, right? But solves issues, and be able to articulate those examples during the interview. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit more, Alex.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
All right, well, it's almost 3 o'clock, and I just want to ask everyone, if you take a look in the chat, if you click on the link, if you could take a bit of time to fill out this is an optional anonymous demographics form. This just helps us keep track of how many folks are coming to this and enjoying these presentations. So once again, join me in thanking Michael Harvey. This is a really great presentation and a great Q&A session. So
thank you.
Wonderful to have you here. You are more than welcome to attend any of these seminars that you find interesting in the future.
Awesome.
And put on your calendar, we don't have the date yet, I don't think, but sometime in December, we will have our holiday showcase, and you'll get to hear from our data science fellows and hear about the projects that they're working on.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome.
all right. Okay, well, thank you so much. I wish everybody a happy Aloha Friday. Enjoy staying in your homes with snacks on, and okay. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.